So, from what we've learned so far, do we think addiction is an individual problem? Is it something inside the person that goes wrong and the solution is to fix them? That doesn't seem to make sense. When people move from isolation to real community, addiction often weakens or disappears entirely. Same substances, different outcomes. So the question isn't just what people are taking, it's what they're missing. And if addiction collapses when connection returns, was it ever really an individual problem to begin with? This is part 53 in the video series of Chapter 7, Integration and Liberation, I should say, Drugs and Addiction, an Anarchist Perspective, Dickie Dredd. And this is part 55, Collective Integration, the Community as the Clinic. If integration is the art of coming down, collective integration is the art of coming together. The recovery that begins in the body must continue in the collective. As explored in section 54, that's the last section, personal rhythm restores the pulse of autonomy. But rhythm alone cannot hold when the surrounding world is still out of time. Healing that stops at the self is only half complete. Addiction thrives in isolation and fades in connection. Alexander demonstrated this through the rat park experiments. When the environment changed from cages to community, compulsive use all but vanished. Note that I report the results here, but do not in any way support animal experimentation. The same logic holds for humans. Addiction is not a private defect, but a social wound. Community integration heals by restoring what prohibition and trauma dismantled: belonging. The idea of the community as the clinic reverses the usual direction of care. Instead of centralised institutions dispensing treatment, support circulates horizontally through relationships, peer groups, recovery cafes, and festival welfare tents. All function as microclinics without hierarchy. They work because they replace shame with visibility, expertise with empathy. Marte calls this compassionate inquiry, healing through truthful attention rather than control. In anarchist terms, such spaces enact mutual aid. They embody what I call stewardship over suppression, the understanding that care is a collective act, not a professional monopoly. After years of austerity, when mental health services have been stripped to the bone and addiction therapy outsourced to charity contracts, these grassroots networks often provide the only functioning safety net. Community kitchens, music workshops, garden co-ops and harm reduction hubs all perform quiet triage for a system that has abandoned its patients. Integration also requires shared ritual. As Turner observed, liminal experiences bind people through collective transformation. In modern culture, that liminality re-emerges in gigs, protest camps and festivals, the contemporary ceremonies of connection. Many who were driven from the cities after the Battle of the Beanfield rebuilt healing culture through sound systems and campfire solidarity. See section 33. The same people labelled as drug users became the caretakers of communal therapy, practicing recovery not as abstinence but as reciprocity. To call the community a clinic is not to romanticise hardship. These spaces are fragile and underfunded. Burnout and relapse are common. Yet their value lies precisely in that fragility. They remind us that care cannot be automated. The phone helpline with the algorithmic wellness app promise efficiency but deliver distance. A shared meal or a night watch beside a friend in crisis delivers what no technology can: presence. Transition from private sobriety to collective integration mirrors the movement from self-discipline to solidarity. The addict who learns to trust again teaches society how to do the same. Addiction recovery becomes rehearsal for democratic life. Every circle that replaces hierarchy with listening becomes, in miniature, the society that prohibition feared: self-governing, empathetic and unprofitable. As Winckelmann notes, communal rhythm synchronises physiology itself. Drumming, dancing and chanting align heart rates and brainwaves, fostering empathy through biology. When policy isolates, rhythm reunites. Integration thus becomes both therapeutic and political, return from fragmentation to coherence. The following section will expand this argument into ecology, showing how the same principle of mutual dependence govern the living world. Here the focus remains human, how we rebuilt the lost commons of care. The clinic of the future may not have walls at all. It may look like a kitchen, a community garden, a circle of people passing a cup and telling the truth. Addiction was never just about the individual. It was about what happens when the people, when connection breaks down, and what changes when it is restored. Which means the system built on isolation, control, and individual connection isn't just incomplete, it may be making the problem worse. So if recovery depends on rebuilding community, what happens in a society that keeps pulling people apart? And if that's true, an addiction isn't the failure, it's the signal. So next up in chapter 7, still integration and liberation, we go to part 56, embodiment, creativity and work.